much as I respect you, Dr. Fauci, I don't think you're the end all. I don't think you're the one person that gets to make a decision.
I have never made myself out to be the end all and only voice in this. I'm a scientist, a physician, and a public health official. I give advice according to the best scientific evidence.
Pulling no punches, Dr. Anthony Fauci defends himself after Senator Rand Paul questioned his recommendations. The sobering outlook from the country's top health officials about the danger of reopening too soon and the timeline for a potential vaccine. Second waves overseas, the massive testing and tracing efforts now underway in China and South Korea as infections rise. The author of a bipartisan report suggests how to safely reopen the U.S. Policing in the times of COVID-19, a look at social distancing discrepancies and the racial disparities of how it's being enforced.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't have been there, but once again, if I hadn't have been there, there would have been no video.
The neighbor of two accused murderers speaks out. He recorded this video the last moments of Ahmaud Arbery's life. But why? And it's not a trip to the principal's office if the principal comes to you, right? Meet the principal who's going a few extra miles out of his way to check in on his students. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Under quarantine and unfiltered, it was an unusual Senate Health Committee hearing today. The chairman of the committee, as well as some of the nation's top health officials, appeared remotely by video conference to senators in Washington and across the country. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, with a stark warning that states moving too quickly to reopen could lead to avoidable suffering and death and set back any efforts for economic recovery. It's a message seemingly at odds with President Trump, who's encouraged the country to get back to business even as the death count climbs past 80,000 American lives lost, a number that Dr. Fauci says is likely to rise. So we begin tonight on Capitol Hill with ABC News senior congressional correspondent Mary Bruce.
Testifying from his modified quarantine at home, the nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, today with a stark warning for the 45 states moving to reopen without meeting the federal guidelines.
If a community or a state or a region doesn't go by those guidelines and reopen, the consequences could be pretty dire, correct?
The consequences could be really serious. There is a real risk that you will trigger an outbreak that you may not be able to control, which in fact, paradoxically, will set you back, not only leading to some suffering and death that could be avoided, but could even set you back on the road to trying to get economic recovery.
Fauci's message at odds with President Trump, who insists the country is ready to get back to work.
I'd just like to hear your honest opinion. Do we have the coronavirus contained?
And if you think that we have it completely under control, we don't. Well, I think we're going in the right direction. But the right direction does not mean we have, by any means, total control of this outbreak.
Fauci was asked whether there will be a vaccine or treatments by the beginning of the school year.
The idea of having treatments available or a vaccine to facilitate the reentry of students into the fall term would be something that would be a bit of a bridge too far.
He later clarified that reopening schools should be tied to a community's infection rate.
I did not mean to imply at all any relationship between the availability of a vaccine and treatment and our ability to go back to school.
Republican Senator Rand Paul pushed back on Fauci's warnings.
I think we ought to have a little bit of humility in our belief that we know what's best for the economy. And as much as I respect you, Dr. Fauci, I don't think you're the end all. I don't think you're the one person that gets to make a decision.
I have never made myself out to be the end all and only voice in this. I'm a scientist, a physician, and a public health official. I give advice according to the best scientific evidence.
According to the official count, more than 80,000 Americans have died. Fauci says that underestimates the toll.
The number is likely higher. I don't know exactly what percent higher, but almost certainly it's higher.
Today, Democrats and Republicans on the committee agreed the key to reopening safely is testing. The president Monday boasted about the country's testing capacity.
We have met the moment, and we have prevailed.
Trump and his testing czar, Admiral Brett Giroir, tout that the U.S. has tested a larger percentage of the population than South Korea. But Republican Senator Mitt Romney ripped apart that claim.
But you ignored the fact that they accomplished theirs at the beginning of the outbreak, while we treaded water during February and March. So partially as a result of that, they have 256 deaths, and we have almost 80,000 deaths. I find our testing record nothing to celebrate whatsoever.
So far this month, the U.S. has conducted about 3 million tests.
So by September, we project that our nation will be capable of performing at least 40 to 50 million tests per month if needed at that time.
And Mary joins us now. Mary, we saw some of that pushback from Senator Rand Paul, but overall, how would you say Dr. Fauci's message was received by the rest of the Senate committee?
I think it was received pretty well, Lindsay. I mean, look, everyone on this committee and really across the country, all of us are asking the same questions, which is how do you weigh the risks versus the economic concerns as you consider how to reopen? And Dr. Fauci, of course, has been walking a very fine line here. We have seen that, especially in his sort of carefully managed relationship with the president. He was clear several times that he's speaking as a scientific expert so that the decision makers can make their decisions. You saw that in that kind of testy exchange with Senator Rand Paul. But Fauci was also very blunt. While not striking a political tone, he made very clear the concerns that he has with this rather stark warning to those states that are moving to try and reopen. It is a warning that stands at odds with the message coming from the White House, that has been coming from the president. And Lindsay, it's notable that so far we have not heard a response from the president yet to Dr. Fauci's testimony.
Yeah, stark warning indeed. Okay, Mary Bruce, thanks so much for your reporting. And for more on this, let's bring in ABC News senior Washington correspondent Terry Moran. Terry, we saw some real concerns expressed by Dr. Fauci. What struck you most from today's hearing? And also want to bring Mary's point to you. Are you surprised that we haven't heard anything from the White House?
I am. This was the first congressional hearing, major congressional hearing, with the public health leaders of this country before the United States Senate or House in months, in weeks, since early March. And so this was a major landmark event for the country. And I was struck, Lindsay, by how different it was from the White House briefings in some ways. This is a committee led by Senator Lamar Alexander, Republican of Tennessee, Senator Patty Murray, Democrat of Washington. They're known as workhorses, not show horses in the Senate. They get along well. They want to get the job done. And so what we heard today playing out in front of us in these questions from both sides, you heard Rand Paul, you also heard Elizabeth Warren, you heard a substantive debate that we're all having, really, in our own homes, in our own lives. How fast can we go? How safe can we be? And as Dr. Fauci said in a previous appearance, he said, yeah, how much suffering can we take? Those are the very difficult questions. And I think what we saw was very substantive answers. The White House, led by the president, is combative. Often the reporters at those briefings are performative. That's a very different dynamic than what we saw today. For those who tuned in, as we heard from the report that you just ran from Mary, we learned something. We learned something about how hard this is to solve and how fast the government is getting down that path.
And yeah, an important distinction to make between the workhorses versus the show horses. Want to drill down now on the testing issue. We saw the president tout our testing capacity yesterday, but then today's hearing seemed to make it clear that we are far from having a nationwide testing system in place.
Absolutely, Lindsay. The bottom line emerging from this hearing today, and I watched all of it, is that while states are eager and people are eager and keen to move forward back into life, back into economic life, the public health infrastructure, especially testing and contact tracing for those who have been infected, that lags behind. It is still being deployed and developed. And while there is progress being made, as Dr. Fauci said, while there is projected massive number of tests that might be available by the fall, the question is it enough? Is it enough to open as fast as states are? Is it enough to do what we want to do in the fall? One thing I was also struck by, the question that came up again and again, school. How will the children go back to school? How will the college students go back to school? That's such an important question for working mothers and working fathers, and such an important question for a generation of young people, you know, who have so much on the line. It's a very difficult issue to solve, and I think that's what we heard today, which is that we're a long way on testing and tracing from being able to solve it as we would want to. Lindsay?
All right. Terry Moran, thank you so much for your reporting, as always. And now to the face-offs over companies getting back to business, specifically one of the hardest hit industries in the U.S., manufacturing. Elon Musk is defying local health orders by calling workers back to his Tesla factory in California. Our Matt Gutman is there and has the very latest.
Tonight, with each truckload of new Teslas, California's largest manufacturing employer, Tesla, openly violating public health orders. The company is touting its new safety measures, plexiglass barriers in break rooms, mask requirements, plastic sheeting.
They measure the temperature before we walk in. They give you a mask. You sanitize your hands before you go in.
The tech giant CEO, Elon Musk, saying he's at work today after filing suit against Alameda County, accusing the county's shelter-at-home order of violating his company's civil rights. Now tweeting, if anyone's arrested, I ask that it only be me. Officials telling ABC News they're more interested in diplomacy than arrests.
I want to make sure that we can do it, like I said, in a safe, methodical way.
And tonight, opening in compliance of state orders, the big three automakers, Ford, GM, and Chrysler, bringing thousands of assembly line workers in Michigan for a phased reopening, and they aren't starting production until Monday. Some manufacturers struggling with handling the risks of reopening. Food plants in particular deemed essential and ordered back in the Defense Production Act, but only after applying new safety precautions. Tyson Foods in Portland, Maine closed down for 6 days after an outbreak. It reopened last week, but now reports 51 people have tested positive for COVID, 12% of the workforce. Today was Michael Gottlieb's first day back at a pork plant in South Dakota.
As one of those who got sick, today I was okay, and I was happy to go back to work today, and I wish they did that way before.
Our thanks to Matt Gutman for that update. Now, as the debate rages about how to reopen here at home in some of the original outbreak epicenters, there's now a resurgence of coronavirus cases. In Wuhan, China, health officials have until today to come up with a plan to test all 11 million people who live there. And in South Korea, thousands of contact tracing officers have been assigned to track down everyone who may have come in contact with one man who went to 5 nightclubs in one night. Tracers have already found more than half of their targets. Our Ian Panel reports on the extraordinary measures both nations are taking to stop the spread once again.
It's the nightmare scenario everyone fears.
People felt relaxed because the situation was getting better.
In Itaewon, South Korea, a popular nightlife area in Seoul, officials tonight are scrambling to find those who may have been in the neighborhood between the critical days of April 24 and May 6. The fears of a fresh coronavirus outbreak began after a 29-year-old reportedly infected with the virus visited 5 different clubs. South Korea is taking no chances. A police force of over 8,500 has been tasked with checking phone records, credit card bills, even CCTV footage. So far, they've identified nearly 11,000 people who may have been exposed, and more than 100 new COVID-19 cases have been found.
On the night of May 2nd, around 2 in the morning, I was passing by, there was too many crowd here, and around 70% of them wasn't wearing mask, everyone outside.
South Korea had one of the first major clusters outside of Wuhan, China, and as most of the world buckled from trying to contain the spread,
this is going to be the hardest and the saddest week of most Americans' lives, quite frankly. This is going to be our Pearl Harbor moment.
The country was hailed for its aggressive response. They tracked, traced and tested en masse, putting public health above all else, successfully controlling the spread unlike others, like the United States, which recorded its first case on the exact same day as South Korea.
Yes, it is a violation against privacy, but it is necessary. This is a global fight. We're all in this together.
It's what kept the nation from imposing full lockdowns and meant they could ease restrictions sooner than any Western nation. But now, as the world looks at ways to reopen, South Korea is facing a new set of challenges. Some of the cases have been linked to gay clubs in Itaewon, and officials fear that some people won't want to get tested because of stigma in Korea and a homophobic backlash.
Already in our society, discrimination and hatred against LGBTs are strong, and the current virus situation has led to even more criticism and derision toward our gay community.
Meanwhile, in Wuhan, China, the original epicenter of the outbreak, new infections are also occurring, days after the city was declared virus-free. The world watched as that sprawling metropolis of 11 million transformed into a ghost town. Yet after 2 months of strict lockdowns, people were finally allowed to leave their homes last month.
We made it outside. It's an amazing feeling. You can see the bike barricade. It no longer has any power over us.
It was cautious. Temperature checks abound and almost everyone wearing a mask. Businesses were allowed to reopen and people resumed living a semblance of their lives before the pandemic. It was a hopeful sign of what the rest of the world could soon expect. But just this week, Wuhan reported 5 new cases, prompting the city to mandate testing for all 11 million of its residents. It's one of the most ambitious testing programs in the world, but perhaps it's what all of us may face if we're ever to be able to declare ourselves truly rid of COVID-19.
And Ian Pannell joins us now. Ian, let's start first in South Korea. The contact tracing that authorities are now deploying, it's far more sophisticated than anything being suggested in the U.S. or Europe, but some say it's also very invasive.
Yes, it certainly is. I mean, it's a kind of tactics that have been used in more authoritarian countries as opposed to a democracy like South Korea, and yet the South Koreans were certainly willing to embrace some of the techniques being used. So that involves looking at credit card receipts, looking at CCTV. This is closed-circuit television, the kind of cameras you see out on the streets, and other things which normal people would regard as perhaps invasive of their privacy. But I'll tell you one of the reasons why they've been more accepting of this and some of the apps which follow essentially where you've been and publish that information is because of their experience with other diseases, particularly SARS and MERS. So countries like South Korea and Taiwan, Singapore as well, were willing to embrace this technology because they'd already seen what the advantage of it was. Whereas for many of us here in Europe and also there in America, they seem like techniques that are far too intrusive in our lives. But the trouble is that will make it harder to track and trace and contact.
Of course. And let's turn now to China. Authorities are trying to test the entire Wuhan population of 11 million. That's more than New York City. President Trump likes to tout testing here in the U.S., but this is testing on an entirely different scale we're talking about here, right?
Yeah, I mean, remember when this first started and suddenly China was talking about building 2 hospitals in 10 days and everyone was like, that's incredible, nobody can do that, and they did it. Now, China clearly has the capacity to order this kind of thing to be done, but just to stress, this is a plan in the next 10 days to conduct the testing, not the testing itself. But even so, you have to ask the question, how do you try and return to some state of normality? And you, of course, need tracing, you need contact, you need apps, you need that kind of thing. But you also really need testing on a significant scale. And despite the boasts that we've heard from President Trump, the reality is that the United States is not the top tester per capita in terms of per million of population. At the moment, that lies with Italy. But of course, the United States is advancing as well in that regard. So yes, that matters. But unless you can actually test everybody in the population, then the question will always be raised, who did you miss and what do they have?
Ian Pannell, thanks so much for your reporting tonight. And as we reported earlier, Dr. Fauci warns that while we're headed in the right direction, opening the country prematurely could lead to another outbreak. So when will we know it's okay to reopen, and how should we go about it? A new bipartisan report from Harvard offers specific guidelines for states to follow depending on their situations rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. The lead author of that report, Danielle Allen, joins us now. Danielle, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Sure, glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Lindsay.
So your group has a color-coded guide for states to follow. Tell us exactly what you're recommending.
The important thing is to see that there's real heterogeneity across the country. So we think about things in terms of green zones, yellow zones, and red zones. At this point, actually, there are no green zones. Green zones are places where there are basically no active cases. So at this point, the country is all yellow or red. Really, the different parts of the country should be testing according to the level of prevalence they have. You want to do testing and contact tracing, ideally according to the number of deaths per day that you're seeing. This means that the levels of testing needed in sort of yellow zones in the country are much lower than in red zones. So for example, Texas and Oregon don't need as much testing as New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts need. That's the really important thing, is to understand that we need different scales of testing and tracing programs in different parts of the country.
And obviously your model for reopening relies heavily on the idea of testing, calling for 5 million tests a day. That could cost $74 billion over the next 12 to 18 months. Why is that investment so important in your opinion?
It's definitely a good investment. At this point, collective stay-at-home, collective quarantine costs the country about $350 billion for 1 month. So an investment of $74 billion over 12 to 18 months is a very small amount in comparison to the cost of collective stay-at-home orders. So what testing and tracing does is provide a tool of disease suppression that is just as powerful as stay-at-home orders, but it does not require you to have the economy closed. So the disease will continue to circulate. The population is still largely susceptible, meaning still largely we don't have that much immunity buildup in the population yet. So even as we reopen, we do need a tool to continue to control the disease. And the best way to do that is to find those chains of transmission. As one person passes the infection to another, you do that via contact tracing. And when you can interrupt those chains of transmission by asking those who have tested positive to isolate for a period of time, typically 14 days, then you can really slow the spread and reduce the prevalence in the country. That's the goal here.
Now, your report offers guidance specifically to states, but what about for the average person? How can they best judge the risk of going out and doing certain activities?
So that's one of the goals that we had as we tried to articulate what the sort of standards for testing and contact tracing should be, was to rebuild a world in which people could make individual risk decisions and judgments, and those could be sensible. So we do argue in the report that if you are in a red zone, high prevalence, that's more than 1% of active virus in circulation. For example, in New Jersey right now, about 1 in 33 people is currently infectious. If you're in a context like that, then it really is good to stick with stay-at-home orders, stay-at-home advisories, and to keep helping to bring the prevalence down through that contribution. If you're in a yellow area where the prevalence is much more moderate, and if testing and contact tracing is in place, you really can go about your ordinary activities if you're not in a high-risk group, if you're not in a highly vulnerable population. You do want to wear a mask. That's how you contribute to keeping the risk profile low for everybody. That's a really important thing to do, but you can absolutely move around. The hardest part really is people who are in high-risk groups. I mean, so if they're in a red zone context, they definitely should keep themselves protected by staying at home. If they're in a yellow zone context, then that's very, very hard because they are at risk and they have to know that they're at risk even as everybody else is moving around. We do advise that older populations continue to shelter at home as we all work toward a vaccine. Nonetheless, people will make their own judgment calls. I think we have to all recognize that. And so the really important thing is that public authorities in specific places be able to tell people what the prevalence level is. How common is the infection? What level of risk do you actually have?
And Danielle, just lastly, based on your data and your research, is there one thing that you're noticing, one trend that has you particularly concerned?
So, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think 2 weeks ago when we started trying to map out these location-specific recommendations, the country still had green zones. So again, those are places where there's almost no virus present. And we looked at that, and it was this wonderful thing to see, and we realized that it wouldn't have taken more than about 9,000 tests a day to keep those zones green to avoid any development of prevalence. But in that 2-week window, that's gone. There are no more green zones in the country. And so on the whole, we are basically still seeing a story of prevalence increasing broadly, even as it's coming down in places like New York. So it sort of washes out as a sort of story of a flat picture for the country as a whole. But the fact of the matter is there really are places where prevalence is still rising. And that, for me, just feels really sad because those places that have been low and are just rising now are in that early stage of the pandemic, kind of like South Korea in the very, very beginning. They have the chance to block it in its tracks. They can do it. And so getting that message out seems to me really critical.
Danielle Allen from Harvard University, thanks so much for your time and your insight. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And when we come back, the man who recorded the final moments of Ahmaud Arbery's life is speaking out, but there is one question he still will not answer. The terrifying moments caught on dashcam. A small plane plows into a neighborhood and the deadly consequences. Plus, the Supreme Court showdown. Will the court allow Congress and a DA to subpoena President Trump's tax and bank records?
Most powerful stories of our time, anytime. Nightline.
Your mom said, comb your hair. Your dad told you, smarten up. Your dog is judging you right now. And your best friend just called you crazy. We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. Now, imagine getting your news like that. No bull, no spin, just give it to me straight. Straightforward news, straight to the heart of the story. ABC News, straightforward.
The Americans here on the ground and the Iraqis, 18,000 tons. Patatas. Ismail? David.
Over ground zero from Hurricane Michael.
You can see just home after home.
David, nice to meet you.
This was your view.
My favorite view.
Thank you very much.
Right now, how do you make sense of it all? Now, afternoons on ABC, one place with the good information you need.
We are all in this together, and we're going to get through this together.
Pandemic, what you need to know. Afternoons at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC.
Welcome back, everyone. Anti-Semitic incidents are on the rise. Last year saw the highest number in the U.S. in decades, according to the Anti-Defamation League. There were more than 2,100 acts of assault, vandalism, and harassment in this country, an increase of about 12% compared to the previous year. Assaults were up a disturbing 56%, and the ADL says it saw the highest levels of anti-Semitic activity since it started tracking this kind of data. The head of the ADL condemned these hateful acts and called on people across the country to end the cycle of hatred. And now to a case that continues to spark national outrage, the fatal shooting of Ahmaud Arbery. 2 suspects are now in custody. A special prosecutor has been appointed. She is the 4th prosecutor on this case. And now we're hearing from the man who filmed those final moments of Ahmaud's life. ABC's Steve Osunsami has been following this case from the beginning.
In Georgia, the streets are talking. The outrage this evening over the shooting death of 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery in Brunswick. And we're now hearing from the neighbor of the 2 accused murderers, who's talking too. William Roddy Bryan worked at a local hardware store and recorded this cell phone video that shows the last jog and the last breath of 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery, a former athlete.
Yeah, I wish I hadn't have been there, but once again, if I hadn't have been there, there wouldn't have been no video.
He wouldn't say why he was recording, but says he willingly turned over his phone to investigators and says he is fully cooperating with authorities.
If the video wasn't there, I don't think there would be an outcome that anybody would be satisfied with. But I'm not proud that I shot the video, but maybe it helps in the end.
It's our understanding that he is a witness. That's never changed. But I can't speak for the GBI. I can't put words in their mouth. We have asked them to go ahead and formally and publicly clear his name.
Travis McMichael and his father Gregory, a former police officer, have been charged with murder. They told police they were trying to make a citizen's arrest and believed that the unarmed young black man was connected to possible break-ins around their neighborhood in South Georgia.
People taking the law into their own hands is a dangerous thing. Right. And we as a society cannot condone people dispensing justice out on a street.
Bryan says he owns a gun but didn't have one on him that day.
No gun at all.
And look, you don't know him, and even after tonight, you're not going to know him.
Sure.
He's not a gun person.
I couldn't. I don't know what I'm doing with a gun.
You have a gun. You've got a rifle.
Yeah, but I really don't know that I could go load it.
He says the shooting down the street from his home was disturbing and says he barely knows the 2 accused murderers.
Fairly quiet little neighborhood. You know, I don't hang out with the neighbors very much. I work and come home. I don't have a relationship with the McMichaels. Just pass him in the hardware store, but, you know, no relationship per se.
That day, for you, looking back, what does it make you feel like now?
It was very unsettling. I've, never experienced anything like that before. I really felt sorry, and all kinds of emotions, but sorry was definitely one of them for the family. Whoever the young man was that I did not know. I don't really know what else to say other than it was unsettling. I've never experienced that, and I don't care to experience it again. I really don't.
Arbery was killed after being seen here walking through a construction site during his jog, according to his family, where he left empty-handed.
There's tons of regrets, yes. Can I sit here and tell you what they all are? No.
There were apparent conflicts of interest with two local prosecutors who worked with or were connected to the McMichaels. And after more than 2 months of delays, the state has now appointed District Attorney Joyette Holmes from the other side of the state to lead the investigation.
And let's bring in Steve now. Steve, as you've reported, state investigators have indicated that there may be more arrests to come in this case. Do we know more about any additional suspects? And is William Roddy Bryan currently under suspicion himself?
Well, his lawyer seems to think he is under suspicion. They've been saying for the past few days, state authorities have been saying that there would be additional arrests. There were rumors, according to his lawyer, that his client, Bryan, would be the person arrested. And they've done everything in their power to prevent that. They've spoken to the press. They've spoken to authorities. They've come out saying that, they've shared the video with authorities, that he's been cooperating with authorities, that he even met with GBI investigators for 5 hours one day this week. They've done everything to say that they are a witness, a word that they've used, and not a suspect. Lindsay?
Okay, Steve Osunsami, thanks so much for your reporting. And we still have a lot more to get to here on ABC News Prime. The disturbing police-involved incident caught on camera and the investigation now underway. Plus, many prices at the grocery store are on the rise. We explain by the numbers. But first, our tweet of the day. Forget pricey theater tickets. Hamilton will soon be streaming right to you.
In times like these, the news-making events happen here. ABC News.
President Trump meeting face-to-face with one of the world's most brutal dictators, Kim Jong-un.
The president.
Do you trust him? I do trust him, yeah. I think he trusts me, and I trust him.
Ivanka Trump.
I have to ask you about your emails. Your father had taken Hillary Clinton to task for this.
There just is no equivalency.
So the idea of lock her up doesn't apply to you?
No.
Comey.
How strange is it for you to sit here and compare the president to a mob boss? Very strange.
Michelle Obama.
What do you wish you could tell your pre-White House self?
Whew. Melania Trump.
Do you think there's still people there that he can't trust?
Yes.
Still working out?
Yes.
Michael Cohen.
So he's still lying?
Yes.
It's a big statement.
And now, in a year with so much on the line, we're right there.
Good evening tonight from Washington, a very busy news night.
America's #1 news source, ABC News, straightforward.
We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. No bull, no spin. Now imagine getting your news like that. Just give it to me straight. ABC News, straightforward.
Another week in America, a country facing a new test now.
The Wuhan airport, almost no one here.
The last flight out of Rome.
This is the nursing home just outside Seattle. Dozens of people were just rushed off this cruise ship.
This is ground zero.
It is shut down.
Another ambulance just pulled out.
Now they're headed to the hospital.
Time is of the essence.
You can see the ship behind me.
This is the first time tests have been done here.
Morning, afternoon, evening, late night, 24/7. ABC News, there for you.
What's the most innovative daily news podcast out there to listen to every day? Well, the Edward R. Murrow Awards say it's Start Here, the daily news podcast from ABC News. Even the New York Times calls us a top news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, free on Apple Podcasts.
Welcome back. With grocery stores working overtime to keep the shelves stocked, a new report out today confirms we're paying more at the checkout line. Let's take a look by the numbers. The Labor Department says U.S. grocery costs rose 2.6% in April. That's the biggest one-month jump in 46 years as demand for groceries soared during stay-at-home orders, and some food production costs also increased. The biggest price increase of 4.3% came in the meat, poultry, fish, and eggs category. The price of cereal and bakery products climbed 2.9%, and the price of fruits and vegetables rose 1.5%, as did the price of milk. While grocery prices increased as stores' shelves emptied, overall consumer prices in April were down 0.8%. That's the biggest one-month drop since the 2008 financial crisis. That was driven largely by a 10% drop in energy prices in April, with gasoline prices plunging a whopping 20.6% as drivers mostly stayed home. And when we we return, the investigation now underway after a plane with a student pilot and instructor on board flew into power lines before crashing. Policing during the age of COVID-19, a revealing look at the racial breakdown of arrests in one city during the pandemic. And we talk so much about the physical toll of COVID-19, but the mental impact for some has been overwhelming, and some fear it could lead to an increase in suicides. What to look out for? But first, here's some of the trending headlines on abcnews.com.
Right now, this is part of the eye wall.
This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live, the 24/7 streaming news source from ABC News. Breaking news, live events, streaming nonstop. Original breakthrough storytelling from ABC News, National Geographic, ESPN, and it's all designed differently for you to stream straight to any screen whenever you want.
ABC News Live.
Streaming everywhere, right to you. ABC News Live. It's that easy to go there.
The Americans here on the ground and the Iraqis, 18,000 tons. Patatas. Ismail? David.
Over ground zero from Hurricane Michael.
You can see just home after home.
David, Demetrius.
This was your view.
My favorite bit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dozens of people were just rushed off this cruise ship. You guys are the front lines keeping the supply chain open here.
Who lives, who dies?
The Iran hostages, the 9/11 terror attack, and now this.
This is Nightline.
Nightline, when it matters most. Late night on ABC.
First is testing.
Testing.
All roads back to work and school go through testing.
A Senate committee hearing from top health officials, including Dr. Anthony Fauci with the White House Coronavirus Task Force.
The president's coronavirus experts giving a warning if states reopen prematurely.
My concern is that we will start to see little spikes that might turn into outbreaks.
Fauci says researchers are hard at work on finding a vaccine, but it is still at least a year to 18 months away. Tensions are growing between people pushing to end stay-at-home restriction and officials trying to enforce them. Police in Fort Worth, Texas dodged bullets as they broke up a massive crowd.
You did. Go.
5 people were injured. All are expected to recover.
Elon Musk wants to get those at his Tesla factory in Northern California back to work, so he has opened the doors back up.
Musk is defying local orders in Alameda County and has reopened the Tesla factory, putting in place temperature checks and other safeguards. Musk is urging local authorities to arrest him. They want to arrest anybody at the plant. Now, President Trump, who has never been a big proponent of electric vehicles, is weighing in, tweeting, quote, California should let Tesla and Elon Musk open the plant now.
Las Vegas companies are out with new plans on how they'll operate casinos and hotels once they reopen.
It's not clear when casinos will be allowed to reopen in Las Vegas, but the biggest companies, Caesars and MGM, are laying out their plans for when they are allowed to reopen their many properties. Masks will be worn, temperature checks will be done at casino doors, casino floors will be socially distanced with tables far apart, hand washing stations will be set up, restaurant menus and hotel room keys will be on your phone instead of physically in your hand.
One of Russian President Vladimir Putin's closest aides, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Petrov, admits he has gotten sick with COVID-19. He says he is in the hospital being treated. France is asking its residents to show their patriotism by eating more cheese. The French dairy industry has a massive surplus due to the quarantine and is calling on its citizens to, quote, eat cheese in solidarity.
Leading cheese experts here in France say they estimate that by the end of the lockdown, they may have to throw away 5,000 tons of cheese.
Today, the Supreme Court heard arguments in 3 landmark cases, all involving subpoenas for President Trump's personal financial records. They have big implications for presidential power and could ultimately determine whether Trump will have to release his tax returns before the November election. And in a big slide of the Times, the public got to hear the arguments live in real time. ABC's Devin Dwyer covers the Supreme Court and joins us now. Devin, what's at stake here?
Hey, Lindsay, well, if the public is ever going to see President Trump's tax returns, it's going to come down to their decision in these cases. It was a big one today at the Supreme Court. House Democrats want the president's financial records for their investigations into his businesses and possibly to write some new ethics laws. The Manhattan District Attorney has subpoenaed the president as part of a grand jury probe into possible financial crimes. Those subpoenas are all on the table, and the president has lost in every lower federal court so far. So if the Supreme Court agrees with those lower courts, by this summer, the president could have to turn over some of those records. Of course, whether the public gets to see them and how fast is a different question, but we could be headed in that direction.
And President Trump's lawyer made a sweeping claim that a president has absolute immunity from any investigation into his private business affairs as long as he's in office. Let's take a listen.
What's really happening here could not be clearer. The presidency is being harassed and undermined with improper process.
And how did the justices respond to that?
Yeah, absolute immunity from any investigation. An extraordinary claim by Jay Sekulow, the president's private attorney. It landed flat with the justices, Lindsay. They did not take to the argument. In fact, they didn't address it very much. The Supreme Court, as you remember, in 1974 said Richard Nixon had to comply with that subpoena from the Watergate special prosecutor. In 97, it unanimously said that President Bill Clinton had to sit down for a videotaped deposition in the Paula Jones case. So that history is there, and it does matter. There was concern, though, from the justices on both sides of the bench about whether these subpoenas can go too far. And so you could see in their decision by the end of July, Lindsay, some sort of a middle ground here where they want to avoid presidential harassment, but they do think there needs to be some accountability and rule of law.
All right, Devin Dwyer, thanks so much for your reporting. And now to a deadly plane crash in South Florida involving a flight instructor and a student. Dashcam video shows the small plane flying dangerously low, clipping power lines while trying to land on a busy street in Broward County before the twin-engine aircraft burst into flames. The student died on the scene, but the instructor managed to survive. A third person hit by debris was treated at the scene and released. Officials say they were trying to return to the airport shortly after takeoff. The FAA and NTSB are both now investigating. Tonight, police in Los Angeles have released body cam footage of a violent encounter they call disturbing. Take a look. You can see an LAPD officer wailing on an individual by a fence. Police were initially called to the scene after they received a 911 call from a property owner about alleged trespassing. The incident first sparked outrage after cell phone footage went viral. The officer remains assigned to home, and the alleged suspect was released pending further investigation. This pandemic is changing how police enforce laws and raising questions over the right way to enforce social distancing. In New York City, that debate is causing divisions in the communities they serve, especially after the NYPD released numbers showing the racial disparity in arrests. Our Aaron Katersky reports.
This is the video that raised questions about how New York City is enforcing social distancing.
What are you flexing for? Don't flex. You get lost up too. Look. He ain't even do nothing. He ain't even do nothing. Look. He ain't even do nothing.
Coronavirus has become the latest touch point in the relationship between police and some of the communities they serve.
That was very alienating to so many people in this city.
Police relations in this community have not improved.
As nicer weather brings more New Yorkers outdoors, police are moving in to keep them at a safe distance. Between March 16th and May 5th, the NYPD handed out 374 summonses for violations of emergency measures. The vast majority were issued to Black and Hispanic New Yorkers. During the same period, officers made 125 arrests related to COVID-19. 90% of those arrested were Black or Hispanic.
In some of the cases, they absolutely start off as an issue of social distancing. In some of the cases, that's not what it is. There are other reasons why these encounters started.
No one gets arrested in the city for failing to keep 6 feet apart, but police say the virus has impacted their enforcement of other offenses like domestic violence, fighting in a supermarket line, or in one case, a bank robber handing a note to a teller that said, "I have COVID." Still, the viral videos grab the most attention.
I'll be the first one to acknowledge that these encounters on video, they look bad. I don't like them.
Assistant Chief Jeffrey Madry is reminding officers in his command to remember the pandemic has put everyone under stress.
I think the community's hurting. They're frustrated. And, some people just don't know what to do and how to react to, when they're placed in certain situations. My job here is to make sure that my officers go out there and react and handle things in a delicate manner, be a resource to the community.
This week, the city announced a new plan to let communities police themselves.
More and more of the emphasis will be on a communicative, encouraging approach through these social distancing ambassadors. And with a team of 2,300, we'll be able to reach deeply into the city and make a very big impact.
Another warm weekend ahead will be a test for police and their new civilian partners. Aaron Katursky, ABC News, New York.
Our thanks to Aaron. And May is Mental Health Month, and we are continuing our series looking at issues that might not be in the forefront as the fight for our physical health is taken center stage. But as many people face extreme circumstances, including traumatic experiences, depression and suicide have come into sharp focus. President Trump referenced the issue last week while talking about reopening.
If they held people any longer with the shutdowns, and you're going to lose people that way, too. And you already have, I'm sure. But between drug abuse and, they say suicide, a lot of different things. There's no win.
Currently, there is no documented epidemic of suicide, but there is great concern among mental health professionals about the overall effects of the pandemic. Our Will Carr has more on the struggles many Americans are facing right now and what can be done to help.
Across the country, millions are struggling with our new reality.
I think in waves, the reality of what's happening hits me, and the uncertainty and the scale of it, I think, is really hard to hold for a continued period of time.
The hardest challenge and one of the first kind of waves that impacted my mental health was just the homesickness.
For a couple of days, you'll be okay, especially if you can go outside and spend some time. But if like a day like yesterday happens where it's raining, then you kind of get sad and you're stuck indoors and don't really feel like you have any space to yourself anymore.
At any moment, I could be holding a COVID patient while we're cleaning them, and just inches away from me, they're coughing. So it's pretty unnerving at times.
After Paul Krieg witnessed 9/11, he decided to change careers several times. He just graduated from nursing school and started helping COVID-19 patients on his first day on the job.
I find myself on breaks, trying to relax, maybe take a nap, and I can't. And even when I come home, I'm working the night shift, and I find it very hard because of the patients that I've seen in dire distress, and also hoping that I don't bring this home to my wife and to my child. And what happens if one of us gets sick? What happens if both of us get sick? Who's going to take care of our child?
Last month, Lorna Breen, who was on the front lines as the chair of the emergency medicine department at New York Presbyterian Hospital, took her own life.
I fear that we're going to see a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder. There are many doctors, even seasoned doctors, who have seen more deaths in the last month than they had seen in their entire careers before that. And that's got to take a toll.
Mental Health America, a nonprofit, says nearly 20,000 people have come to them with anxiety and depression directly linked to the pandemic.
In our April screening for depression, we had more than 7,000 people tell us that they regularly are having thoughts of self-harm or suicide, and that's twice as many as we would get in a normal month.
And even though younger groups are generally least affected when it comes to their physical health, experts say that's not what they're seeing when it comes to mental health.
We've seen an inverse relationship between the age of a person and how deeply this is affecting their anxiety or depression. In other words, the younger people are feeling it a lot more than the older people are.
Calls to the National Disaster Distress Helpline have spiked, according to Dr. John Draper.
It's like a big boulder is sitting on top of them, and they feel hopeless and helpless, and they can't push this thing up. But that boulder is really a lot of smaller rocks that are piled onto each other. So if you can just focus on one thing that seems achievable that you can address in that moment, you can't deal with a whole boulder, but you can deal with that rock. And as you deal with each rock and you remove some of the pressure, you begin to feel like you're more in control.
A few months back, before all this started, the idea of working from home for a day or two might have seemed really attractive to most of us. Right now, after several months of it, and often being enclosed with whether it's housemates, whether it's family, whether it's children, it's really complicated and really tough to stay happy, healthy, well, and productive and focused at this time.
That's why Headspace, a popular meditation app, teamed up with hospitals and the cities of New York and Los Angeles to offer free guided meditations.
We saw across some of the anxiety and stress content in particular, we saw spikes of over 1,000%.
That spike, though, is leaving many mental health experts concerned about how long this anxiety will pulse through the veins of our communities.
We're not going to have a one-and-done wave of mental health problems. We've got mental health problems that are sinking in right now and are going to keep building over a period of weeks and months to come as grief increases and as financial problems increase for people.
Things change a little bit every day, but not a lot. So make sure that you give a lot of time to focusing on activities and not a whole lot of time taking in all this information, which is filled with a lot of speculation these days.
And Will Carr joins us now live. Will, really important story to tell. So many of us have had our worlds turned upside down recently, but it's also important to note depression is not just sadness, it's a disease. And curious to ask you, after talking with experts in that field, what do they say is making things most difficult right now? And what are some of the things that they say can be done to help?
Well, Lindsay, you heard Andy from Headspace say there that this is complicated. They say that one of the biggest things that people are dealing with is just being alone, being isolated right now. Millions of people across the country are cut off from their friends, their families, and their jobs. They're also worried about underlying issues that people have if they had before, like drinking or using drugs. And some of the things you can do to combat this, obviously, are you go get some exercise, even if you have to do it in your apartment or your house. You can meditate like you saw in the piece. And one doctor pointed out something really important that I thought. He mentioned that there's a bit of a stigma with the term social distancing, and that we need more physical distancing, 6 feet or more, but being social is exactly what we do need. So you can call somebody, you can get on a video chat, and even if you don't need that right now, you can guarantee that somebody else does. Lindsay.
Right, physical distancing, not social distancing. Will Carr, thanks so much for that tonight. And a reminder to please, if you or someone you know is thinking about harming themselves, please call the National Suicide Lifeline for help right now and know that you are not alone. And up next, bringing graduation right to the front door, how one principal made sure his students had a ceremony to remember. Stay with us.
Right now, how do you make sense of it all? Now, afternoons on ABC, one place with the good information you need.
We are all in this together, and we're going to get through this together.
Pandemic, what you need to know. Afternoons at 1 Eastern, 12 Central and Pacific on ABC.
The world may feel out of your control, but your happiness doesn't have to be. Learn the secrets to happiness. Listen to the 10% Happier podcast, free on Apple Podcasts.
ABC News, honored winner of 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards, including the most prestigious honor, Overall Excellence in Television. ABC News, America's #1 news choice.
This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live, the 24/7 streaming news source from ABC News. Breaking news, live events, streaming nonstop. Original breakthrough storytelling from ABC News, National Geographic, ESPN, and it's all designed differently for you to stream straight to any screen whenever you want.
ABC News Live.
Streaming everywhere, right to you. ABC News Live. It's that easy to go there.
Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I'm grateful you woke up this morning.
Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning, sunshine. We've been waiting for you. Say good morning. Good morning, sunshine. In America. Say good morning. I want you to wake me up.
ABC News, America's #1 news source. Straightforward news, straight to the heart of the story. ABC News, straightforward.
Virtual, postponed, or outright canceled commencements have become commonplace for so many members of the class of 2020. But one Texas high school principal, he decided to go the extra mile and bring the graduation celebration to each student's front door. ABC's Rachel Scott has this story.
At Wiley High School in North Texas, school spirit starts with the principal, Bertie Montgomery. Here he is, dressed as an elf, sitting on top of the school's marquee, spreading Christmas cheer. At a pep rally, hopping in with the cheer squad to show off his moves. And during football games, he's on the field too. He's the one in the pirate costume.
I'm a firm believer that high school is more than anything, even the education part of it, it's about creating memories.
His graduating seniors told me he's a bit of a legend.
He lives and breathes Wiley High School for sure. He's at every game. He's at every cross-country meet. Like, no matter what, he'll be there, you know?
But as the coronavirus ravaged the nation, schools closed, classes emptied, and graduations were sidelined. Seniors stripped of their final months in high school.
We've been in school, in high school for 4 years, working up for these last few months, or for these last few events. Having that taken away unexpectedly was shocking.
Today is Corona Chronicles Part 33.
Principal Montgomery still kept up with the morning announcements virtually.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, if you would stand, please rise. We pay tribute to our great country and our awesome state.
But for the first time in nearly a decade as principal, he worried he would miss out on his favorite school tradition too, a special send-off for the senior class.
Graduation is the crowning jewel of any principal's life. And to stand out there and to look at that sea of maroon, it's fulfilling. It's a rich, deep, emotional tie to a bunch of kids, and you're not going to see them anymore.
So he came up with an idea, a way to go the extra mile for his students.
I said, well, if I can't get them to come, then I'll just go to them. And I told my wife about it, and she looked at me like, you do know there's over 600 of them, don't you? I said, I don't care. I got to do this.
Principal Montgomery set out on a mission to visit all 612 seniors at their homes to celebrate their graduations.
It was a monumental task, and at the end of that first day, I thought I might have made a mistake on this deal because I am 66 years old, and man, it's going to take some energy to pull this baby off.
But he did. In just 12 days, he traveled 800 miles total, visiting all 612 students while keeping some social distance. One day driving 127 miles alone to make stops at homes all across the area.
73 houses that last day.
73 houses in one day. That's quite a lot.
My record was 91. We had one day we got 91.
Even keeping the school spirit, he wore a mask with skulls and crossbones, a nod to Wiley's pirate mascot. Some students greeting him in cap and gown.
Having Verdi and having Wiley High School behind our backs, like supporting us every step of the way, it's definitely brought back hope to the senior class.
On each visit, he delivered a personalized note and candy bar. But the best gift, his time. What message do you want your seniors to take away?
The most important gift anyone can give anybody in the world is their time. And I told them with my visit that I care about them. I'm giving up my time to come to see you, to come to your house. And all I care about you to know is I love you and I care about you.
And he will get that special moment to say goodbye after all. An in-person graduation is scheduled for next month.
Remember your school? And please, don't forget your old principal.
Rachel Scott, ABC News Live in Washington.
I have a feeling that principal will not be forgotten anytime soon. Our hats off to him and our thanks to Rachel for that. And before we go, our image of the day, and the writing is quite literally on the wall. This wall in Belgium, to be exact, it's a big chalkboard on the streets of Antwerp where passers-by can scribble what they dream of once the pandemic is finally over. This man's simple wish, what he wants to do, have fun. Sounds like a good goal for all of us, but hopefully we don't have to wait for the pandemic to end for that. And that is our show for this hour. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us, and have a great night.